Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. 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 I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. Feel my heart, it's beat tight.
Sitting in a 4v3.
Everton Esports trying to find the angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a wall. We're gonna take black. White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. 50's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Sagafar is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick on the Linky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Boom! Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio. that is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Starting the fight, they'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy, popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
And welcome everybody to yet another beautiful day to continue on in what has been an absolutely spectacular playoff season thus far in Season 17 of CGL. And of course, we are coming into the EU side of things of the Open Division. Very much the highest caliber of play will be seen today between Lightning and the T4 Demons. I'm here with Rags, and we're excited to show you what can possibly happen in this best of 5 today.
Yeah, both these teams obviously going on a tear through the upper bracket, so it's been quite, a bloodbath here all the way through our EU Open Division. Lightning got that first round bye, but of course having a 3-0 victory over Cartel, a massive win to get to this point, and the winner today gets to go to the grand finals. The loser has to drop down and try and battle back one more time at the very least to make it to the grand finals themselves. So yes, we could easily see a rematch here today, depending on how the final round of losers goes next up. But yeah, here you would love to save yourself the trouble and just punch that ticket. Lightning and T4 Demons slogging it out. Both these teams looking really solid, both in regular season, but especially now in the postseason.
No, absolutely 100%, right? So I can see that lower bracket is looking very, very scary down there. And even more so, right? When you lose on this winner's side, you will have to go down to the lower finals. And as you mentioned, fight your way back to a hopeful rematch between these two of our rosters, between Lightning and T4 Demons. And speaking of rosters, it's going to be a really, really fun one. We have a lot of players, a lot of subs are also here for our both of our teams today. So listen, no excuse for no one being here to play their game. Listen, we had a couple of things happen last week. Not going to happen this time. We have more than enough people to actually start this game out and give us some beautiful just Overwatch action in general, especially in light of, I think we had a hotfix yesterday. Was it Tuesday? Today Wednesday. Yesterday we had a hotfix, so codes have been wiped. I know, unfortunate, but that does mean that maybe we have a couple of adjustments here and there. We're still kind of developing into this meta as well, so it really does feel like it has become a pick wherever you want, and it's probably going to work type of phase we're in, kind of limbo we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, the meta's pretty wide open. You're absolutely right, Matt. I think there's tons of options here, especially in our open division, for example. You can see a lot of skill expression on any of these top compositions right now. And again, any of these teams, playing at this level in particular, if they've got their own pocket strategy, if they've got their compositions, their own particular version of the metagame, they can make it work. That's the joy of, I love, especially here in these upper, bracket divisions, upper, ranked divisions here for CGL. So I'm curious to see what they roll out with. We've seen a ton of variation. On the rise, you've had these Hazard compositions and even some Orisa compositions and Mauga as well in terms of leading the tank line. But the DPS that are good are still good. Emery still kind of all over the place. Vendetta, since the start of Season 2, and she got a few of the nerfs that we saw come through via the nerf, that has seen a little bit of a drop in play. Zarya still good, but not always going to be alongside that Vendetta here. But to narrow things down a little bit, we know we're headed for our first map of the series. This one enabling some of these more common compositions here. We're going to Lijiang Tower. Mott, that's not really a shock to either of us.
No, not really. Especially when you have the option of going to any of these control maps in the map pool, usually a lot of our teams will kind of default to Lijiang Tower, which does kind of give way to a couple of more standardized bans, I would say, on Lijiang Tower as kind of like your safe bans. Sometimes I always think about like Pharah and Symmetra as two of like my mainstay I don't want to play against him whatsoever, especially Pharah, who has been very popular as of late, especially on Lijiang. I mean, she's been popular for a very long time on the map, but you know, a lot of teams have really been picking her up a lot more and more, and just kind of consistently having her as a secondary flex DPS option outside of like Tracer, Genji, and things like that. While your Hiscan, as you mentioned, Emre, Soj, and all the Hiscans that have really been so strong are still very much playing those characters and still finding heads and clicking headshots all day, every day. But Lijiang Tower is where we start things off, and this does, of course, introduce us into the aforementioned ban phase. Again, I mentioned the Pharah and the Sim as some pretty standard ones, but these teams like to, especially at the open level, they do a lot more thinking and a lot more targeted bans the later we actually get into the playoff bracket.
Yeah, it should be noted that these two teams here are coming at the playoffs from two different groups, right? We've had two separate groups that have played against each other throughout the course of this season, who are now, some of them, like these two teams, Lightning and T4 Demons, are meeting for the first time. Not even in the mid-season tournament did they face off, even though some teams were able to cross over and have those inter-group violence going on there. So this is a chance for them to both gauge each other's strength. Lightning coming at this, the #1 seed out of Group 2 and T4 Demons, #4 seed, and honestly what is a very hotly contested group. So being a #4 does not necessarily mean that you are any slouches here. T4 Demons have already proven that all up to this point. They've only dropped a single map so far here in the playoffs, looking really good. They didn't even have a first round bye, so they've had to battle a lot more consistently than have Lightning to get to this point.
Absolutely. And finally, we have arrived at the ban phase here. Lightning being the higher seed, and of course, I mentioned they had a bye. They had one round, a little 3-0, and now they're chilling here in Winners Finals. They do have the opportunity to have that first ban under their belt. Of course, they have free range of any of our amazing 40-man roster here. We're going to go with the Jetpack Cat of all things. Another popular hero in the support line that is played a lot, especially when you're talking about Gardens specifically. Sometimes it does get some playtime on Night Market and on Control Center, but Gardens has really been the name of the game for Fika, and yeah, we're going to ban her out completely here, leaving only tank and DPS for T4 Demons.
And the Tracer pick to round us out. I like a Tracer pick on, a Tracer ban here, especially on Lijiang Tower. You can honestly kind of play Tracer on any of the control maps, but especially Lijiang is where she can really go unchecked if you do not want to opt into that mirror yourself. So yeah, I think two solid bans. I think you're absolutely right, Mott. The Jetpack Cat on Gardens in particular can honestly be a huge nuisance. We've seen a rise, worldwide now since it's been popularized in the Asian divisions of the Jetpack alongside the Bastion. We've seen at the OWCS level in particular has been pretty consistent coming out here. The collegiate scene that we've seen as well here in NA has been running a lot of this particular composition. Now, getting this ban out of the way early on does mean that Lightning cannot ban the Jetpack Cat later on down the line. So they have to have a strong sense that this is going to be the most impactful ban for them here on Lijiang, and that they can provide a good answer to this later on throughout the series.
No, for sure. The Jetpack Cat, I mean, she's just a weird band sometimes to think about. A lot of times you kind of... I feel like ever since her release has been very easy to kind of deal with her. And Lightning are the ones I just mentioned. Oh, double on. I'd love to see that. So here is our lineup for Lightning. Again, the #1 seed, or the higher seed going into this matchup. They have Evo, they have Zerail, they have Buffets, they have Killa, and they have Jacob, right? Amazing lineup we have for our Lightning squad. And, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to play Tracer for this first map. So much to this Zerail's dismay, we will be able to see him play something else as we now move over to T4 Demons and their stunning starting lineup.
Yeah, T4 Demons are rocking out with Mio and Percy as your DPS line, Signal as your solitary tank, and Laren Alvin and Karemi there for your support line. Now, we've also been seeing a lot of this Bap Lucio backline here. I think there's a good bit of it on Lijiang Tower on Control. There's tons of room to run this Baptiste. You can honestly find these flex supports having window what feels like every single fight. A really impactful ultimate as these fights drag on and on. When you find teams like this that can often be really evenly matched, having a single ultimate so consistently can turn the tide more often than you might guess.
Absolutely, and y'all saw that little like live feed of some of our players. Yes, big shout outs to some developments, very insane developments happening behind the scenes. We are trying to get some more player cams. So you saw a couple of faces from Lightning pop up on that feed. I believe it was Evo, Jacob, and Killa who were all up on that cam feed. It was really well done. So big shout outs to our production crew at CGL. Now, with that in mind, let's get into Night Market. It is gonna be Doomfist, it's gonna be Diva, it's gonna be Sim TP, and maybe even committing to Symmetra as we see the teleport from Lightning over to the dojo with that Lucio and Kiriko backline against the BAP, and Brigida goes all the way outside because Jacob finds a beautiful boop while we were trying to get a little bit of movement to get back into the point. Not gonna happen as the rest of the team of Lightning are able to clean up T4 Demons. And again, we can see Jacob's beautiful face as we are cheering in joy, I think cheesing over getting that kill on the Doomfist.
Yeah, T4 Demons, look, I appreciate the big swing they're taking, quite literally here on the Doomfist composition, but Quina just getting booped out so easily there. Yes, it's a chance to get back in, but Jacob on that Lucio is just so able to provide an easy answer, playing bouncer quite literally for the rest of the squad on the dojo. And yeah, T4 Demons are being held at this first choke point, having Zerael on this Symmetra. That Symmetra getting to point first and having the team, you know, with that DPS hero, locking down this initial choke point makes things so tough to actually aggress for T4 Demons. Yes, you've gotten one kill here, you've gotten the Diva out of mech, and that's an impactful one, but you keep getting stuffed here at this first point. But we've got some pressure on the objective, so there is a chance for the rest of the team to be able to pile on along that, forcing Lightning back towards the point itself. Overclock already rolling from Evil. That's a clean kill, and Jacob booping Larvin Oven off the edge of the map. And we're honestly trading blows here. Tons of work being put in by the front line of T4 Demons, but it looks as though it might not be enough at the end of the day. They've got a few more bodies and the technically closer respawns here at the very least, but Lightning are also no slouches in terms of speed, and so it all kind of comes out in the wash.
It really does. The overclock gets used from Evil, and then of all people, the Lucio, Koremi on T4 Demons takes care of that easily, and then Jacob finds another environmental kill onto Kin, and then we have Mio also going down for the count. I feel like this Doomfist really cannot get anything started, and look at this, Lightning are basically in their spawn room, not allowing anybody to get out, but I think Killa got a little bit too overzealous as that Kiriko TP out back to that resetting on the bridge once more. Quina needs to find some way to build up towards his Doomfist ultimate towards the, oh my god, towards the Meteor Strike before getting run down by an aggressive sound barrier from Jacob, resulting in a triple elimination here for our blue side right now.
I mean, you could see that Mio just gets evaporated, right? You've got Buffet is there with the DMH. You're just hosing down not only any damage coming out from that Sojourn, but also any healing you're trying to get in from that Baptiste behind you. And with that, losing people left, right, and center. T4 Demons, they're having the last gasp of this fight here on the objective. A good punch off the edge there from Quina, so there might be a chance of them actually flipping the point. The Imp Matrix on the objective, we highlighted that as being such an impactful ultimate, especially in these close range environments. And Percy still has that Death Blossom, so T4 Demons need to press that last minute button. They can certainly go and do so, but you'd love to hold on to a couple of these ultimates. Now, crucially, the rest of them died so early that they are going to have the overclock and the sound barrier, but yeah, so Lightning kind of got a little bit too sloppy with that defense, and that is going to be first cap here for T4 Demons.
They're going to use, actually, going to use the Sim wall here, TP, but it's going to be Mio's area of effect actually taking care of this support, at least one of them, from Lightning while they're trying to walk in with this aforementioned Symmetra wall. T4 Demons are able to easily clean things up. Again, Quina is finally getting back into the throes of the fight, into just the momentum back in the favor of the Doomfist, as T4 Demons are holding on to that overclock and sound barrier. Evil is going to be able to at least mirror it out the upcoming overclock of his own, but here comes a dive from Quina. Is it going to be enough, however? Well, Buffet is staying very nice and healthy in that white room, not wanting to overextend into a charged up Doomfist with punch active. There's the punch again, and keeping everyone from Lightning away from touching the objective for another little bit of time. Oh my god, 4 times the charm, truly.
I mean, zoning away, but Buffet just gets immediately healed up there. That Lucio, yeah, you've got to go in. Quina now having that escape button of the Meteor Strike will go ahead and use the ultimate alongside the overclock rolling from Mio. So much damage being laid over Lightning's heads. And T4 Demons, I liked how they were biding their time, right? Quina just building up so much ult charge on the back of those punches coming through time and again. And a crisp team kill. Like, yes, they spent 2 ults there, and they're going to have the sound barrier, though. Lightning have finally built up to a couple more of their own. I think both teams were more than happy to really wait wait things out in that fight, but T4 Demons launching directly into the White Room, providing such an easy answer. Ooh, that's nearly a punch off, but you're going to stay strong here for Lightning. Now a chance to get back to the objective.
I love Buffet's kind of hates, doing a little double check to see that Doomfist sitting in the corner waiting for that boop. And speaking of boops, Jacob all over the screen yet again with another boop onto the other Baptiste, and then a double kill right after that. Kana actually kind of going in for the self-environmental, if you will, and then Mio taken down by a headshot from Killa. And that's going to be a flip here over time. Starts to tick down. Is there going to be a touch? Well, I'm not really sure because the Doomfist died so late, and that's usually your most consistent touch option. So with a little bit of messing up a little bit here and there, Lightning clean up the pieces, they clean up their act, and they're able to regain the point back in their favor, 1-0 so far as we move over to the night market.
I gotta give credit to T4 Demons. I was kind of down on that composition after losing the first fight, certainly after losing the second fight, right? But they stuck it out, were able to build up towards those necessary ultimates, but unfortunately, I think it was just a little bit too late, right? You were having the second ults coming out from multiple heroes on the side of Lightning, whereas T4 Demons were sometimes just getting up to their very first one, having lost the previous fights in such a haphazard manner, right? It wasn't a clean disengage to any of those fights, and honestly, going down 0-99 was so close, but they were able to battle back and take it the distance. So I think full credit to Lightning for getting back into it. And T4 Demons, they've got a strategy, they've got a comp that works for them, but we'll see if they can actually make it through yet again, because once more, they're playing into a defensive sim comp.
No, they really are. That's the most annoying thing to play against is a sim on this point because of how defensive you're going to see this sim be playing. Here comes the TP away towards the right side, and you're basically just using these slight little off angles you have while stationed in the temple itself. Percy is in the back line looking for the Kiriko, not looking for the Lucio, and we do see a retreat of Jacob for now, trying to find the Mega Pack while the rest of his team is able to clean up a double kill, triple kill actually onto the Baptiste the Reaper and that Lucio. Jacob tried to find a sneaky boop as well onto a blocking Doomfist. Not gonna find that one, but you know what? It works out as Evil and company all worked in tandem to take care of Pinna all the way last in this fight, leaving us with a very extended stagger on the Doomfist. Even more so, they're rallying against the rest of T4 Demons who are trying to walk out of the spawn area.
I'm not entirely saying Percy's able to get out of this one alive for a hot second, but yeah, we're seeing again the exact same thing that we saw on Gardens here. T4 Demons not really cleanly disengaging, trying to go in and get a little bit more ult charge, find a little bit more pick potential for themselves, but at this point we're already pretty close to 50% on the objective, and Lightning have plenty of ults to work with in this next fight should they wish to utilize them. Now T4 Demons about to have that meteor strike and the window, so that's certainly an opening for them, but once again they're having to dive into this highly defensive composition here. Buffet is on this Diva, can easily just shut things down, eat up all of this potential damage, and yeah, the Kitsune Rush out here from Quilla, that's enough to hold things up here. We spent both these ultimates, Meteor Strike and the Amplification Matrix, all that T4 Demons had coming into this one. A late game kill onto Evil. Alright, make that a 2 for Quina. We cannot count out this Doomfist just yet, and the kills are nice, so that should provide a nice opening for you, but yet again, we are burning time and time off the objective here. You still have to worry about this Diva and this Symmetra, and Quina doesn't have all the defensive tools in the world, able to get some overhealth from that. Oh, that is a clean engage, a clean punch from that Doomfist. So you know what, I may say nay all I want, but it turns out at the end of the day, if you're just that good on the Doomfist, you can potentially lead your team to victory. But still, these trades in an engagement like this are favoring the aggressing side at this point, right? T4 Demons able to get back into this one so quickly and find the pickoffs one by one, but Jacob the Assassin, this Lucio cannot be stopped, and honestly, I'm still not certain which way the cards are going to fall. The kills could fall, and the second that the Doomfist goes down, that's got to spell defeat here for T4.
Well, one Sunbarrier, though, might be the end of it all. Hold on. Don't count my guy out yet, but you got to count out Percy, who did have the Blossom online. Couldn't be able to proc at any moment. Then comes the Sim TV to the back, and then the overtime ticks down because everyone's was way too distracted to figure out, hey, we got to go for a touch here. So Lightning with a beautiful way of just staggering on that objective for longer and longer and longer. In those extended fights for so long, Rags, we were able to find that 99 to 1 or 100% to nothing for Lightning here, giving them the first round, the first points in this series. Big shout out to Quina, though, who did find a lot of value in that last portion of that fight on second round. Unfortunately, you know, was not going to be enough without the rest of his team there to back it up. So again, well done for Lightning, but not the end of the world, because T4 Demons did put them against the wall for a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, that was, what, 100-99 on Gardens, and then, yeah, T4 Demons just were not able to find that same surprise momentum that they were on the first round on Night Market. It really kind of felt like the surprise factor was kind of worn out by the time we got to Night Market. And, of course, it's a lot smaller of a map, it feels like, you know, than Gardens. Here, Gardens, you have multiple angles of attack, plenty of wide open space, whereas on Night Market, the wide open space you mostly have is the drop-off on the outside of the objective. There's not a ton of room to really work around and play the outside of the objective like that Doomfist really wants to do. And I appreciate all the angles and all the pickoffs, all the momentum that Quina was bringing to the squad, but it unfortunately just wasn't consistent enough, right? Once Quina was on the hunt, you know, looking out, as we saw multiple times, for Jacob on the outside of the objective, the rest of the squad is kind of getting pulled apart on the point by that sim composition that two sub-maps in a row on Lijiang Tower, Lightning was able to set up their defensive hold first, and only through a, you know, excessive persistence were T4 Demons even able to dislodge them on Gardens. Night Market, we saw a Lightning that was far more buckled down, and yes, it was still a chaotic fight here, largely facilitated by that Doomfist, but you really were starting to see the composition from T4 Demons kind of losing momentum there. And again, those messy disengages really not serving them in the long run.
Yeah, I had to agree with you. And when talking about messy disengages and stuff like that, you have to think about what map is going to benefit us the most to assist in this kind of composition that we are insistent on playing here for the winners finals of the open division. Of course, we have done away as Control. That is whatever, shot dead in the water in Miami. We don't really care about her. Now we look towards where are we going to go in terms of map type, map pool, and we're going to keep the same vibe, Rags, right? We're going to go from point to point, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're just going to go from Control over to Flashpoint, more specifically Saravasa. Kind of a nice change of pace for me personally. A lot of our matches have had a lot of game twos go to Atlas instead of Saravasa, so very interesting in that regard. So I'm glad to see Saravasa come back as, again, one of my if not my favorite Flashpoint of the three submaps we do have. So love seeing Saravasa, love the idea that we're seeing from T4 Demons. Now it's up to the ban phase and exactly what can we mitigate here as we move from Lijiang over to Saravasa.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Saravasa is the ultimate map to facilitate T4 Demon's playstyle. So they're going to have the first ban out here. If I'm them, you need to ban a tank because I can already tell you that Lightning are going to try and ban out that Doomfist if they've got a chance to do so. It's clearly the linchpin of the current composition that T4 Demons want to run. They're going to ban out a Kiriko. All right, so honestly, another really good pick here if you're not too afraid of losing the Doomfist, if you feel like that was just a map 1 pick here, you don't need to rely on that. The Kiriko is perhaps the most important, part of so many of these compositions, kind of the default backline here, coming into all throughout the history of modern Overwatch, basically. And you're running that Lucio backline for T4 Demons, so you don't even need to use that yourself. You're not even taking a tool out of your own toolbox, just your opponent's. And Lightning banning out the Bastion. Look, they do not want to face that Bastion Cat composition. They're going to take both of the pieces off the table in this first map. They must have a clean read that T4 Demons want to run this composition, because otherwise, otherwise this feels like a miss here in terms of not getting, the most important tools out of T4 Demons' arsenal. Or you weren't really too bothered by it on Lijiang Tower. You're not too upset by facing that Doomfist potentially a second time.
So we all saw that Bastion Cat comp in that case, right? Because I'm also very scared of a Bastion Cat comp, and I understand why we're seeing these very targeted bans towards that duo line from Lightning. And again, you all mentioned the Kiriko very obviously being banned from T4 Demons, because T4 Demons didn't play Kiriko. They played Brig and Bap. They played Bap and Lucio. They played other characters besides Kiriko and Kiriko and Lucio, meaning that backline has flexibility, but they're comfortable flexing off of that Kiriko Lucio. A lot of teams cannot really say the same. I'm not saying like Lightning can't, but I am saying it's a little bit more, it's understandable why this Kiriko ban is coming into fruition here. And in that regard, right, with that in mind, we might see some more Brig Juno make a little bit of a slight reappearance. You might even see anything else along the lines. I will say, we do have a substitution coming in. We have Necros coming in for the side of T4 Demons. Ideally, going to be dueling it out against Zereo in that flex DPS lineup there. Tracer versus Tracer, Genji versus Genji, whatever you really feel like it. Echo versus Echo, you know, whatever you really feel like, that's ideally what these guys are going to be doing most of the time, is fighting somewhere over yonder, while for the other 4 players are fighting for their lives on these next up to 5 objectives of Flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean, also the Tracer is going to be back in as well. So if this is, honestly, T4 Demons could easily just run this composition, right? Their favorite heroes could easily just be what they roll out with here. Buffet is, I know that favoring this Hazard is not necessarily a guarantee that we're going to see it, but I really like a Hazard. I mean, it's not necessarily required on Saravasa on your Flashpoint maps, but later down the line in this series, I think there's tons of room to run Hazard. I think Hazard's really been on the come up lately. Been seeing a lot of play at all levels here on these various compositions that we're getting. And so I think it's not a requirement for Saravasa, but I think it's more than a good arena to try out this composition against a team like T4 Demons. Hazard's a bit more, it's a bit tankier, a bit more brawly than your Doomfist, but still has plenty of dive potential, plenty of assassination potential. So curious how it's going to fade. Oh, yeah. All right. If this is what we see from Lightning, and I have no reason to believe it's not, I love the Brig Juno with the Mauga on Saravasa, on Flashpoint, trying to be an unkillable composition.
I'm ready for the Bufayez Mauga. That's all I gotta say. I'm ready for the Bufayez Mauga. With the Brig and the Yachty comp from Jacob and Killa, yeah, we are seeing something magical happen for Lightning here. On the other end of things, the kind of almost the opposite, I would say. We have Mio, who's on Cassie, who's going to be a really good Zerial check there with the Hinder Nade. And first of all, Hinder Nade into headshot kills Tracer anyway. So Zero needs to be very careful in that regard. Necros, as I predicted, is going to be kind of taking up that Tracer mantle, going for those 1v1s against his mirror match. And Evil is back on this devious Sojourn. We saw a lot of really good rail shots and really good tracking from that character. So Lightning do have the work cut out for them up until Jacob gets one headshot from Mio, followed up by Necros. And we do see a trade-off. No Juno, no Baptiste, but Necros is up in the kill feed, finding kills onto his mirror match into Zerial. Now, unfortunately, Kina is burning and dies to the whip shot from the Brigida, and Lightning do edge out a percentage in their favor for the first point, separating everybody from T4 Demons. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get things going when you're down 1.
Yeah, neither of these two teams really bothered at all by being down a body, right? They still keep fighting, still keep dueling out and taking down buffets early on here. T4 Demons have an opening, you know, that Mauga is kind of the center point of this composition. It's not like the dive base of T4 Demons. When you are down that heavy, large tank that you usually have on the objective, Lightning have to play this very carefully, but T4 Demons can kind of run roughshod over them now. You've got the Mauga back already, still pretty quick getting back to the engagement. Quina under so much pressure, falling dangerously low, has to get healed up, but Evil is just so devious on the Sojourn, finding a late fight pickoff. Necros goes the pulse bomb, doesn't find anything with it, and also pays for it with his life. So yeah, holding strong here are Lightning, and they're trying to push forward. They don't even want to see another fight on market.
They really don't. 90% of the objective already in the favor of Lightning. Necros is running to get there in time, has to take a quick pit stop to the mini pack, and that's going to negate a touch entirely for T4 Demons. Recall gets forced out from the Tracer, and Necros follows up easily onto Zereo, who I think lost Necros in the confusion of it all. But with that in mind, they lose out on 1, but not the end of the world, as we do see the rest of the team trying their best to rotate to the next objective. Now, of course, that being the Gardens, and we've lost Jacob. Overclock is online. We are hearing and seeing the Meteor Strike come through, looking for someone in the backline. Recall gets forced out. Beautiful follow from Necros onto Killa. Now this could be the opening that T4 Demons needed up until you go for a cage fight, and then you're kind of locked in this little space here with Zereo kind of putting in a little bit of damage, protected by the by that shield, right, of the cage fight. Otherwise, point is still uncontested. Now T4 Demons are going to look to get it. Orbital Ray committed, by the way, in the 1v1 against Zereo and Cassidy, and it works out mostly for T4 Demons.
I mean, that orbital ray is kind of crazy, right? Nowhere close to the objective, still just laying down over the remnants of that cage fight on the point. And so, yeah, with all that, T4 Demons get first capture on Gardens, but a crisp stick of a pulse bomb. Zerael finding out Karemi. The backline torn to pieces. It's just Larv and Alvin trying to run for the hills, but Lightning are there hounding out Necros. That's going to be a crisp retake here. Pretty quickly done here for Lightning. 23% is not much at all on Flashpoint.
Okay, we have Overclock ready for Evil. Love the speed boost engagement here, going for a big torpedo, but you wide swing into a Doomfist and a Cassie. That is very bold from Jacob, and unfortunately it does bite him at the end of the day. The Captive Sun committed from our Iyadi as well, finds Killa in the meantime, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Karemi is able to find so much value with just the humble Captive Sun and all that jazz. We get a quick reflip here for T4 Demons, and they are holding on to this window and this upcoming Deadeye, and basically everything besides the Captive Sun, pretty much, right, Rex?
Yeah, they're about to have a really good defensive hold here if they play their cards right, and by that I mean play them slowly one at a time. Lightning only having this rally. Another pulse bomb comes out from Necros, unfortunately goes a bit wide there, but a commit, or disengage rather, from the Meteor Strike here. So Quina back to the objective, spies. There's tons of room here to shove somebody off the map into the drink. Zerael taken down on the back end of things. This is a very lethal backline here between the Baptiste and the Iari, so it's going to be the window laid through that amplification matrix, but no longer is Baptiste alive to even benefit from it. So point gets flipped yet again here as Lightning able to hold strong on the objective. It's just that rally that they have, but they're able to make good with a single ultimate. Meanwhile, T4 Demons, they spent heavy in that fight and didn't really get a chance to hold on to anything. Didn't really see any massive concessions coming out from Lightning either. They've lost Quilla here and Evil, so there is still a chance, but once again, Lightning powering forward into the opposing spawn. There's not even going to be a chance to touch here unless Necros is somehow on the objective, and no, nowhere close to it. That is a second point done, essentially cleaned up the exact same way. They're following a clear playbook here for Lightning, and T4 Demons need to wake up to it, otherwise they're going to lose this map and go down 2-0 in this series.
I have to say, I am going to give a big shout out to Killa on that Brigitte. Multiple times when it goes down, it's like sub 50 HP, pops a rally, using the rally to proc Inspire, as well as just kind of stabilize and bullet everyone away. Now, Bufayez goes for a very confident cage fight in the middle of T4 Demons, and is quickly eradicated, quickly taken down in the midst of the fight before it really even began. And this does open up an opportunity for T4 Demons to walk to the objective of Temple and open it up for themselves here. Bufayez cannot see anything, unfortunately. Might need to see a pause here. My Malk has no eyes. This is not good.
No, it's gonna be a quick first take here by T4 Demons. They're gonna have, once again, pretty much everything to work with, right? That's a full war chest for the team in red right now, whereas Lightning are playing this at all kinds of deficits right now. Now, yes, you've gotten the Baptiste away from the rest of the team, so honestly, ults might not be the most important thing at the end of the day if you can find the right counterplay. Jacob, with this orbital array, is trying to sustain the rest of the team as they move forward onto the objective, but easily can a Doomfist punch you out of that, area of healing and damage boost that you're trying to put through onto your backline. Stunned out, so that's a quick stomp onto Quina. So that T4 Demons, despite having all the tools to their advantage, yet again, I feel like I'm a broken record at this point here. Lightning still able to make the most with the least, and T4 Demons getting shoved all the way back into their spawn once more. It is this Mauga alongside the Brig. What a wrecking crew on the front line.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, this Brig has been a godsend for Lightning in all aspects of these fights. Look how aggressive they're playing with this rally. Oh, big boop. We also hear the pulse bomb go off. Not gonna find much besides some space being demanded from Lightning here. And again, it's all because of how aggressive we're playing with our Brig, with these rallies. This is how you play Brigitte in the Big 26, and we're gonna continue playing her to this level. Killa, you are a madman.
Going crazy, honestly, going absolutely insane there, not just on the objective, but also off, and this is T4 Demon's last chance to get onto the objective. A Deadeye in their spawn! Oh, Evil is absolutely diabolical here, taking down 2 with the Deadeye alone, and the rest of the team able to pick off the leavings one by one. That's 100% on this objective. call it here. That is a 2-0 for Lightning. Honestly, just another day at the office for them, and clearly you can tell by the player cams, having fun styling on their opposition. T4 Demons, they need to find something that works for them, because clearly we have found answer after answer here for Lightning, looking even stronger than they did on Lijiang Tower.
I had to agree. This Malga comment, and you did mention Malga in the very beginning of our series, talking about, we were talking about meta and things like that, and kind of preferred hero picks. And Malga is back. As much as it's made of many people, not myself, I love Malga and the way he looks. I do think Malga is so strong as of late. And see how well Bufai was able to just really command the room. Literally, the first clip of the day is just getting a big old stomp onto Necros. I think kind of just accidentally blinked into that space of the overrun and then the stomp thereafter. And again, there's a really good amount of plays being made by T4 Demons. But I think what you said around Lijiang Tower, I think they figured out the surprise factor of seeing a Doomfist composition and things like that, right? They played around it very effectively. They had the Brig to negate most of these dives from the Doomfist and the Tracer, and keeping that Cassidy in check. Really, Lightning, they're on the cusp of a 3-0, and my goodness, they are looking good doing it.
But folks, we'll have to find out the exact, result, the exact outcome of that map in just a few moments here. Going to go to a quick break, but don't go anywhere. You do not want to miss the potential conclusion to this series.
Carpe diem.
And just like that, quick little break and a little bit of water later, we are here with our map number 3 in this amazing series between Lightning and T4 Demons. It started off very strong for Lightning, has been strong continuously, but there's been pockets of life from T4 Demons all throughout the series, and hopefully with this map number 3 pick for themselves, maybe this can be the start of something beautiful in the event of a reverse sweep, but it is a tall order to ask and a hell of a mountain to climb.
Yeah, while T4 Demons technically were swept on Saravasa 3-0, no points going their way, honestly, it didn't really feel like that. Like, they were giving as good as they were getting for so much of those points, but Lightning is just so good at confirming an objective. There is no chance to even, I don't think any of the 3 of them went into overtime, right? Because every single point, Lightning was able to find the opponent spawn room doors and just camp outside there using ultimates, free firing, and preventing anyone from getting anywhere close to the objective. Really confirming the kill at the very end of the day. So T4 Demons, they're giving us a show, but if they want to keep the magic running, they're gonna need to find something else. Otherwise, it's gonna be reruns from here on out.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It's going to be a very difficult thing to try to upheave where Lightning are succeeding so well. So let's start things off slowly. Let's start going to King's Row. Hybrid map, going to be a really fun one, all right? It's going to be a good... We all know King's Row. We don't got to do anything about that, right? But this also kind of says a lot, right? T4 Demons deciding to go over to King's Row, a map that really doesn't favor some parts of their composition. Notably, I do say, I don't think Doomfist really does all that well on King's Row. Most die don't really work that well on King's Row. So this is already something that, to me, indicates they might play something completely different. Maybe to trip up Lightning and get an edge in that regard.
I mean, they're gonna need it, right? You need to play something that is going to catch Lightning, unsuspecting, because this Doomfist composition has been figured out. Honestly, it was kind of figured out already on Lijiang Tower, and then the Mauga Brig Juno was just nail in the coffin here, I think, for T4 Demons. Most comfortable composition, so... honestly, even if T4 Demons don't ban out a tank, I don't think Lightning even need to target that Doomfist. I think that's been well and truly understood by them by now. For T4 Demons, I don't really think there's a clear answer. The Mauga was, yes, the most destructive member of that composition, but the Brig was probably the real sleeper hit all the way through. But no, it's going to be the Lucio ban. All right, so... that's fine. Like, a Lucio ban is always fine, even on King's Row, but I don't think it's necessary to run here. And if you didn't run Lucio on Saravasa on a Flashpoint map, as Lightning didn't, I don't think this is really a gotcha for them at all.
No, not at all. Lucio ban, we go back to Brig, call it a day. Just kind of let Killer just do whatever he wants. That was the scary part about Flashpoint, and better yet, we've lost the Doomfist of completely, right? I was kind of just talking about how, yeah, they're gonna probably want to go King's Row, do something different because Doomfist isn't really play well on the map, in my opinion, but we're gonna take it out completely. So for sure, we're gonna see something completely different from the side of T4 Demons. And Lightning, has already proven themselves to be comfortable flexing around that backline when needed. So that's where we're gonna see that Lucio get banned out. We're gonna see Juno Brig probably, or something along those lines, for sure. Or even Kiri Wu Yang, low-key, because Kiri is still available as a backliner, and she's very flexible in her own right. But that's enough theory crafting from us. I do know we have I believe a substitute coming in from T4 Demons, and that'd be interesting, right? A new character, a new player. Both these rosters have, I believe, the entire 8 teams or 8 players. So we can see so many different styles, so many different strong points and compositions here from our rosters. But as I mentioned, T4 does get a substitution. It's gonna be bowing out our favorite Doomfist main, and we're gonna get I think the other half of that Doomfist, an Orisa player from Signal.
Yeah, I think once Lightning go for that ban onto the Doomfist, you've got to understand that composition is completely and truly busted here. So T4 Demons swapping Signal in response to that. Should open things up. I haven't seen the Signal a whole lot yet this season, so this Orisa as a favored tank hero could easily be... I mean, Orisa probably not the most likely pick on King's Row. There's certainly, stranger places to find her, and she is really on the come up here, especially in answer to these Mauga, these hazard compositions here, especially if you're expecting that from Buffets. Honestly, I've kind of talked myself into it. Signal, run that Orisa. That feels like the right call here, considering what we got to see on Saravasa. But Buffets has already proven to be pretty versatile, running both that Diva on Lijiang Tower and that Mauga, of course, on Saravasa. and favoring the Hazard as a favorite hero pick here. I still think there's tons of versatility on the side of Lightning that T4 Demons need to contend with. They need to be able to find some answers here. Both these teams, very deep rosters, right, Matt? We've already seen a couple swaps come through here, at least for T4 Demons, but Lightning haven't really felt pressured to make any changes of their own.
Not at all. They've been keeping it nice and consistent, and we are going to see Evil. First of all, my DPS tank dip support orders all messed up. Thanks, Lightning, but I'll allow it, as we do see a complete role swap as well. For example, Bufai is actually on Tracer this time, at least in the spawn room, and Evil in the tank row. I do believe that once you are role locked once we're actually in map. So this should be actually a real composition in terms of roles we're playing from Lightning on the attack side. Defenders are repping that Brig and Bap yet again, coming in from Lijiang Tower, if you recall, as well as the Diva from Signal. So not going to see the Orisa quite yet, but Signal, I think, is going to have a lot to prove here, as we are, again, we're down 2. So this has to be the play of all time, especially when you see that Pharah and then go back over to that Tracer from Zerail. Yeah, this is going to be a good start here for T4 Demons. I think their comp is going to work very nicely into the attackers.
Moira Iyari on the attacking support line. This is greedy. This is all damage. This is all kill potential coming out here from Lightning. But yeah, both of these DPS lines are looking exactly the same right now. We've got both the Emery and the Tracer, Necros and Zerail trying to mark out each other. And Buffet is already putting in so much pressure, finding a ton of damage. Zerail finally getting the better of Necros early on. That's a D-Mech and a finish off onto Signal. Lightning just absolutely powering over T4 Demons. Defense getting torn to shreds. It's just these supports left alive on the high ground, and they are nowhere close to the objective. 5 minutes 40, Mott, for a first point A capture. Lightning, I was gonna say they're trolling with this composition, but I think they're just stretching out, getting comfortable.
Oh, brother. 5.5 minutes is a little too much to deal with here for T4 Demons. We do see Signals swap over to the Orisa, and they might actually, unfortunately, lose out on this initial hold on the archway. Now, of course, Signal is trying his darndest to get to that objective, to get to that corner, and kind of stall the objective here as much as he possibly can. Necros finds 1 kill onto Jacob's Moira that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Of course, a very interesting choice, a very greedy choice with the DPS potential of an Iyadi. Bufayez finds the 1-up in the mirror match against himself and Mio, giving us a 4v4 even standing point here for Lightning to work with. And my goodness, do they work with it. The Orisa a little bit desynchronized from the back line, as we do see a full retreat and the use of the pulse bomb. And we're going to see the override protocol from Bufayez taking care of not just the Baptiste, but also that Brigida post lamp. 4.5 minutes left, and they're looking great, already getting through the archway.
Look, investing both DPS ultimates here from Lightning is a choice. That's a heavy price to pay for a pretty, easy fight stomp there. But honestly, I want to highlight the positioning from Evil all the way through. Putting up that shield just to keep Signal from getting enough healing to stay alive, and then powering directly onto the rest of that retreating Orisa. Really good work here from Lightning on the offense. Now, T4 Demons, you're going to have to weather the storm here. You're going to have 5 ultimates, so if you can easily just cycle through these, you should have the advantage. But not if Evil goes first like that, pummeling to pieces Necros' Tracer, and that is a heavy spend once again. Lightning unbothered. Did I see? I thought for a second.
No, that was water. Nope, that was water. I don't know what that was, but it was water to me.
Yes, some celebratory water here from Lightning on the offense. 5 minutes and change, powering into point B.
5 minutes, and yes, some change, as you mentioned. Signal and Larv, both, of course, Larv and Alvin, both, of course, having their ultimates, the Terror Surge and the Window. We're going to see the Terror get used first. Mio finds a kill onto Zerail, and finally, maybe something can come out of this, Rags. Of 1 kill is there. Bufire is looking a little bit worse for her in terms of the health pool department, and there is the swap I'm looking for. There is that Symmetra going to be putting a lot of that pressure back onto Signal, who has no real consistent way of dealing with a beam character like Sim.
Yeah, already Window dropped here at Matrix down from Larv and Alvin, who has been the Baptiste. The thankless task at the best of times, but just trying to keep this team alive and well. Will manage to do so this time. So Evil going in deep, just trying to get picked off there on the cart 4 minutes and 20 left here for Lightning's offense. They're getting some kills in the back end of this, so this is still, all is not lost here for T4 Demons on their defense, but they spent everything in that last fight, so now they need to just try and poke and prod, which of course this composition is well designed to do to build up towards some more ults of their own. But Fayez has this override protocol ready to go high in the sky, and of course Jacob with this coalescence could also shred through these, as you mentioned, no beam defense at all here for T4 Demons. You find these stationary targets of the backline, and Mio arguably, you could easily tear through them like wet tissue paper. That's going to be only so far catching out that pylon, so deployables, beware. It's a Moira with that coalescence rolling forward, but the rest of the payload is now piling on with Lightning surging forward. Krilla finding 2 kills in that fight. Crazy work coming out there. This is exactly what you're expecting from a heavy DPS backline like a Moira Iari. That is some answer though, so Evil does fall here, now back on the Zarya, and a captive Sun. Karemi shutting things down on the defense.
Beautiful. And that was really good. The Terror Surge and the Captain Sun being used together is a very easy way to instantly ignite the entire battlefield, literally, with that combination. So very well done from Signal and from our Iyari here of Koremi. Now, what I'm scared about is this window and the use of the window and the override protocol to kind of stall out this 3-minute time bank. Works out wonderfully, of course, for Lightning, or excuse me, for T4 Demons, who easily kind of disrupt this momentum from Lightning momentarily by taking care of Evil.
Yeah, I mean, this is really where the defense needs to start. This is where the hold needs to find its footing. Evil on this Zarya, I understand the swap, right? You're trying to power in entirely on the full beam composition here out of Lightning. T4 Demons signals, Orisa doesn't really have any massive answers, but in theory, at least, it turns out that at the end of the day, as long as you've got the backing of this particular backline here, and Mio Necro still going kind of crazy on the DPS line, T4 Demons are not out of this one just yet. We've burned over 3 minutes off the time bank here coming in to point C. Now finding another pickoff onto Zerail. The Lightning are kind of overconfident here. I think they're, I mean, yeah, they're kind of letting this map get away from them if they keep losing these fights one by one, getting staggered out like this.
Yeah, no, I agree. They are kind of getting a little bit stopped at this initial corner. Oh, we're going to use the window in the corner as well. You can't walk that, especially if you're seeing this damage matrix being used at the same time. I mean, you're just kind of making that damage output of the override protocol more deadly than ever. Now, Killa gets very overzealous and actually finds the win against Mio in the meantime. Now we're going to see that the Captive Sun get expended, and that's going to be the go button for Lightning yet again. But thankfully for T4 Demons, not only do we have Mio going over to the Widowmaker, we also have a pretty consistent touch here as well. Oh, there goes my Symmetra.
That's exactly what you're counting on from, well, for a moment, that's what you're counting on from the Widow swap. Buffet is able to answer back. I mean, the payload moves so far back in that previous fight that, yeah, it essentially bought you an extra fight here for T4 Demons on your defense. Lightning are letting loose with every single ultimate they've got left. Will it be enough? Because they're still losing bodies, right? It is just the Zarya and the Tracer left on the objective, and Evil has proven that once you're down these bubbles, the rest of T4 Demons can easily tear you apart piece by piece. Sub 1 minute territory for the offense here. What looked to be such an easy full map completion for Lightning with the heavy expenditure of every single ultimate they had in that last fight is kind of looking like a tall order now.
Yeah, this is actually so impressive from T4 Demons. This is the best we've seen them so far with this stalwart Orisa, just kind of stopping Evil in his tracks. Even better, Evil has actually gone over to mirror this Orisa. Now Mio has back out, leave, as that entire high ground has been basically just bullying him off of that vantage point, allowing the Lightning crew to walk back in up until Mio repositions and finds Zerail in the meantime, leaving it into a Tracer loss of 2 Tracers, right? Jacob taken down by Mio as well. Everyone's backing up. They only have 7 seconds left here, Rags. They cannot afford to wait this long in the window. There goes Evil, goes for a touch. It does activate over time, but for how long?
Hit Matrix on the high ground from Larvin Alvin. Evil knows that he is going to be evaporated the second he touches the objective. When you step foot out of that door, it is open season on the Battle Cattle on the objective. Necros back in the fight, taking down Buffets on the backside of this engagement here. And the rest of Lightning can't even really touch the objective. They're all being caught in these small enclosed spaces, and T4 Demons pull them apart. An incredible hold here from the defense. Over 4 minutes of point C. Well and truly drained out of your opponent. its hands. Lightning, I think that was, they fell victim to their own overconfidence there coming into point C. They really felt like they had it, and now this is a definitive win condition for T4 Demons. Lightning need to have a really solid defense. Now, yes, it's a near full map completion, so you could easily drain the time bank out in multiple locations here, but we need to see them taking this a bit more seriously. T4 Demons have proven they are not going to be defeated here without putting up incredible effort on the opposing side.
Yes, and on that same note, Lightning are not allowed to roll swap between rounds, I believe, right? So you're not going to be able to see Evo go back onto DPS, Bufayez back on that tank. You have to keep Evo on this tank. You have to keep Bufayez on the DPS at the exact same time, which of course may be a little bit unfortunate, right? Having you're having your tanks swap sides or swap roles for a second there, and that could be a big thing to maybe accommodate for yourself. So as a response, Lightning on the defense are going to have Zero back on this Symmetra, setting up these turrets on the, of course, the first checkpoint, or first choke point, may I correct myself. On the other side, the defenders, Signal, Mio, Necros are going to be sticking to their same composition. I believe same thing with our backline. We're going to see Larva and Alvin go to Cap for a little bit of vantage point, but not going to be for very long. Now, does Mio get a headshot here? Do we find any eliminations? Well, Big Scout, and there's a headshot to Evil. Nemesis form does not get procced, or does actually get procced, but we got back out a little bit here.
Yeah, I understand why Evil swapped onto the Zarya late on the offense there. For Lightning, you really wanted to provide an answer to that Orisa. And of course, the Ramatra usually is more favored against the D.Va than the Orisa, but still, I think that was kind of the beginning of the end here for Lightning. So I'm glad to see Evil back on the Ramatra on defense, but Mio on this Widowmaker has proven to be such a difference maker already, just from that defensive hold, but already finding a pick off here on their offensive attack here is something that Lightning need to be very conscious of. They need to be playing around this a lot more carefully. Can't take these angles quite nearly as openly. Buffet is finding a really solid pickoff. All right, now you can play with the Reckless Abandon you have become so notarized for here on this throughout this series coming in. So yeah, Kilo finding another pickoff onto Signal. Lightning in a good spot. They've burned a good minute off the clock here, but T4 Demons plenty of time to rethink their approach.
And plenty of times to rethink their composition. Mio goes over to the Sojourn to mirror that against Bufayez, who did get a very sick, like, jump up headshot, rail shot onto Mio's Widowmaker. That was kind of sick to watch from the POV of the Widowmaker. But in the meantime, we have Overclock ready for the defenders. Very scary to walk into, especially on King's Row first objective. If you are T4 Demons, they have options to, negate it by just rotating really quickly around the Sojourn and not getting stuff out here, which of course they are going to. Evo finds himself in a very unfortunate side swap position, even more so force a whole block against the Terror Surge, and not gonna be enough, as we do see a double whammy. No more Zero, no more Evil. Overclock might save the day from Bufayez, but only finding one up in the mirror match as Larva and Alvin slides in from the high ground and takes care of Bufayez, who was very low in the first place.
Yeah, Evil, I totally understand the attempt of that hold, right? Going in to try and pull apart those weaker targets, but you've got to understand Signal coming in with that Terror Surge could easily spell disaster there, and the rest of the team was not really in a position to support you. But fortunately, Lightning have had the time to get back on the objective. Not a full cap so far for the offense. T4 Demons having to back off. They spent the window coming into this engagement. Of course, Signal just used that Terror Surge in the last fight. Lightning had a lot coming into this one. They just spent 4 ultimates just to make this hold come through. And yeah, you do need to hold here, but I mean, T4 Demons once again have a bit more in the ult bank. You have this Annihilation from Evil who can really drain the time bank with this particular Ramatra ultimate, but you've got to count on T4 Demons finding an angle on you. Mio on this Sojourn could easily have another Overclock ready to roll here, but Faze does not have one on the opposite side, so you've got to be conscious, and holding block on the objective in mid-Annihilation is not how you want to spend your time as a Ramatra.
Not really, especially as you don't have anything to negate the Cat of Sun from the Iyadi as well. The combined power of this backline, by the way, for T4 Demons has been so good between Koremi and Larva and Alvin. They have been so solid at just helping support their team, literally. And with that, finally, the point gets completely unlocked here for the side of T4 Demons. They start walking up. This is amazing. You're going to want to take as much space as you possibly can. You don't want to fight an archway, and you want to limit Lightning's ability to take over that specific area of King's Row. So as we slightly reset a little bit more behind here, they have pretty much cleared out the archway with relative ease and minimal pushback from our defenders. And we are still working with the Terror Surge and the window as well. So you have these go buttons at any point, Rags, that will allow them to roll through the street phase with somewhat little resistance from the defenders. Oh, Jacob's in a bad spot. That's an unfortunate TP in, and singled out by Larvin.
Jacob committing on that TP, and of course the second it gets destroyed, nowhere for you to go whatsoever. Zerael and Evil able to hold on for a few more seconds on this corner, so it looks as though Lightning will finally stabilize on this second narrow choke point on the first corner of Streets phase. It's not perhaps the... and now of course they can push forward here. If they can find another pick off, taking Necros down is the opening they need. We'll see if they want to even hold close. I mean, the payload right here, you might as well just hold on the bookshop on this particular corner. Lightning about to have a good few ults to work with. If they can just not spend all of them at once again, they have a chance to really drain this out. T4 Demons are going to have a good war chest of their own, so they have to be very cautious of this. Yeah, Evil and the rest of the squad has been very good at finding these early pickoffs. The cleanse coming out here in the face of this Captive Sun. The Terror Surge spent from Signal, but everyone able to back away. At least Buffet is out for a second, but then gets caught back in as Evil powers forward, pummeling people left, right, and center. It's Mio and Necros falling prey to the aggression from the defense. Lightning now finding themselves very much in control of the map.
Excuse me. I was not talking and I started dying. I want to be as nonchalant as Jacob one day in my life. Jacob was in a 1v1 against Bufires for a hot... Not Jacob, excuse me. Remy was in a 1v1 against Bufires for a little bit there, and then just turn around, kill them, went back over, right? So that was really funny to watch. And oh, actually I lied, that was Jacob versus Mio. My goodness, everyone in mirror match. But we're gonna see the overclock not get mirrored out here by Mio. Gonna be Bufayez coming in on the high ground, going for the overclock, goes for the Roche on the Tracer, who does recall right in the nick of time. And then the overclock coming in from Mio is shut down by a slightly off-angled and flanking Bufayez. That's unfortunate for T4 Demons, as the fight is pretty much wrapped up. We only have a minute and we only have 45 seconds left in the time bank.
Yeah, a disgusting play here from Bufayez. This Sojourn finding the angles on T4 Demons all over the map right now. And of course, Zerael able to teleport you to the objective, back to the team, wherever you need to go. Now chasing down the spawn room doors with the Cementor, finding a kill to Mio in spawn room. That is disrespectful here. Lightning's defense unbothered in their lane at this point. They've got the sim wall, they've got the Annihilation, and the Kitsune Rush ready to go. Jacob about to have another Captive Sun, but the rest of the team is going to back up. They want to hold here on this second corner. A pretty clear straight away, of course, having Jacob able to put in the damage from above and behind. The Implication Matrix has been laid through from Larvin Alvin, but now rolling on the objective. T4 Demons going ahead with the rest of their ultimates. Captive Sun going all the way around the objective. Is anyone on the point? Yes, they are. We've already taken down 2 for either side of this fight here, so it's down to the DPS and the supports. Just Necros alive to push the cart. Lightning is coming alive, electrifying their opposition here. Yes, things got a bit dicey on their own push. They weren't able to full cap, but turns out you don't even need to worry about point C if you stop them in the Streets phase. That's a pretty clean 3-0 here from Lightning as they move on the upper bracket.
They sure do. Now they have secured their spot in the grand finals winner's side, of course. We do have to have T4 Demons fight their way through the lower bracket to try to get a rematch against Lightning here. Now, big hit of Sun again from Killa. Very well done on the Yari. The Yari in the BAP has been very, very, very fun to watch. Yari Brig, Yari BAP, and whatever have you. Here's a quick little look at the entire replays of the entire match. This was a great match in general to watch here for the winners finals, but truly, I think Lightning got just the better end of the stick here, the better matchups, the better compositions more often than not. And even when they were faced with some more of those targeted bans, for example, right, they didn't really falter. They didn't feel like they were boxed in, or they didn't feel like they were up against a wall. T4 Demons, on the other hand of things, they felt like they couldn't just find their footing whatsoever, only for seldom a couple of one-off opportunities. For example, this is amazing hold here on King's Row, but otherwise, T4 Demons just had a really good day today.
Yeah, I mean, Lightning just looking good all the way through here. Yes, there were some stumbling points on King's Row, but all in all, the first two maps coming into this in particular here, looking very clean, and of course getting over like 5 minutes 30 in your time bank coming through point A, and having about 5 to get through point C. A good hold from T4 Demons, but when it's just that strong a showing from the other team, Lightning really couldn't do anything but win here. So T4 Demons, they gave a good account of themselves. I want to give them all the credit they deserve. Some less than, let's say, most meta compositions. I know we talked about nothing's really the defined top of the pile meta right now, but the Doomfist composition is not something we see terribly often. Quinn running this comp here, leading the charge, was really a breath of fresh air to see. It's just a shame it didn't really pay off at the end. Really hard to outmaneuver a team as practiced, as consistent as Lightning. And Suravasa, easily the widest gap of the 3 maps we saw today, really kind of was the final nail in the coffin, even before that ban came through onto the Doomfist for King's Row. So it was catch up all day long here for T4 Demons. They just were not able to actually reach the same level, and Lightning didn't really look too concerned, even when they didn't get that full cap on their push for King's Row. Didn't seem too bothered by it. The defense was just as confident, just as destructive as it had been before. And this is not a team that you can't exploit some weaknesses, right? They made some overinvestments. They made some less than, let's see, self-staggerable choices on their final push, but still looking dominant and clearly feeling themselves all the way through the series.
No, 100%. And we are going to get a little glimpse of somebody from the team, from our winners, who is going to come in here and talk to us a little bit before we end the broadcast. So we're going to go to a very quick break, get someone, plucked off from our victors and talk to them. And we'll be right back with that person. Welcome back, and of course we come back with a very, very amazing interview candidate here from the side of Lightning, who got a wonderful 3-0 in the series and punching their way to grand finals. I am here with Evil, and Evil, listen, this is a great series for you guys today. And truly, really exciting to see you go between DPS and tank today as well. And I have to say, going into that King's Row match, you role swap. You kind of did a little bit of swapping around. What's the win condition? What's the condition for that to happen?
So we're like really close and like we know each other a lot, and we both like play kind of overall, and so there's sometimes we just like to off-roll because we find it like really funny for us. Like it makes us giggle a lot. So that's
Yeah.
kind of why we off-rolled.
It's
But
yeah,
it's like
if it works,
no
yeah.
it's like no disrespect or anything. Like we both do play a lot of off-rolls. We did like all get champ on off-roll. No disrespect.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I'm glad that you guys are still having fun with it all the way through. Yeah, so was there any point in the series today, you guys had a pretty commanding lead all the way through. Was there any point, maybe early on Lijiang Tower, that you had to really figure out T4 Demon's composition, right? Where they kind of threw you for a loop, or was it just full confidence all the way through?
I will say it was like we were pretty confident, but we still got really scared at like on the first one when we almost got reverse with like the old percentage, and we were like, okay, let's start locking it again because we're kind of getting fucked right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you were able to sort of find that sticking point, because yeah, that was the only point that went to the distance, right? That 99 to 100%. And just looking ahead a little bit here, you've so far not dropped a single map here in the playoffs. Are you hoping to maintain that same speed? Like, do you think the grand finals are also going to be a clean sweep for you guys?
I mean, we'll try our best to at least. I believe we can do it.
And on that note, is there anyone of the remaining four teams, right, technically, yourselves, T4 Demons, Avoid, List, and Skyflock, is there anyone you're kind of hoping to see with you guys in that grand finals to duke it out with?
I mean, this team we just played is really fun to play against, and they're talking a bit in the match chat, so it's funny to play with them. I'll be down to play against them again.
Oh, good to hear. Okay, and of course, final question for real is we are live on broadcast, as you know. Who would you like to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
On the broadcast, like
Yes.
like someone from here.
No, you can shout out whoever you would like.
I mean, my beautiful teammates, Bufaye, Squilla, Beaver, Jacob. No, Marky. Fuck Marky.
Well, murky do dang. No, all love of
Actually,
course.
nothing is that us free. Just free 8. I'm sorry.
Well, in that regard, it was amazing to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for putting on an amazing show. And we'll see you guys in the grand finals in a little bit.
Yes.
And that's it. Wow, beautiful. Now that was a really good little insight into Lightning and how well they're really doing going into not just like this match, but also going into grand finals, looking like they are looking confident and looking good. Speaking of, here is of course the updated bracket. Shout outs to Lightning for reporting score very quickly because we can actually get this nice and updated. And as I did kind of allude to, we have a Void List and Skyflock in that lower semis match to get. To fight and then go qualify to go up against T4 Demons, who are waiting in lower finals. The playoffs are almost ending, which is always very sad, but it gets so intense near the end of it anyway.
It sure does, and the intensity doesn't stop here with this match this afternoon, or evening, of course, EU time, but there's more to come here from CGL. Later tonight, we've got Monolith versus Iliad Artemis. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to that match. Folks, do not miss it. I'll certainly be tuning in there. That's going to be at, that is 10:30 Eastern time, right? Unless I make my, yeah, that's absolutely correct. So 10:30 Eastern time, pretty late one there from both these squads. So make sure you're well rested, get some caffeine before we get to that one. That should be a really good match.
Oh, it sure will be. And we go back to our beautiful faces real quick to tell you guys just it's been a really good one. Really good match. Really good match today. Gonna be a good match later tonight at 10:30 EST / 22:30 as well, 100 hours. And that's pretty much it. I mean, at this point, right, Rag? So thank you everyone for tuning in and having just supporting Lightning in their endeavors, and also big shout outs to T4 Demons who are now waiting for lower finals, and then hopefully they get a well-deserved rematch up against Lightning. But they gotta get through the rest of this bracket first, and you gotta wait for our lower semis match to happen. So listen, it's been a really fun one. And Rags, any last words before we close out the stream?
Oh, you're absolutely right. You said it all. It was such a good time, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to join CGL later on tonight. NA time for some more playoff action. But until then, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next match.